Ladies and gentlemen, we have now arrived at our final substantive session of UBC 2025, a fireside chat entitled Malaysia's Green Leap. Now, this session will take a closer look at the question, is sustainability just a buzzword, or can nature truly drive economic growth? From forests to rivers, we'll explore whether working with nature can spark innovation, strengthen communities, and deliver shared prosperity. We dive into the possibilities and the realities of Malaysia's Green Leap, and naturally to facilitate this discussion with Yang Amat Berhormat Dato Sri, our moderator Shahril Hamdan is on stage with him.
Embarrassing to have the Deputy Prime Minister listen to 2 minutes worth of introduction about me, because it's not about me at all. This is about an extremely important topic which we are about to embark on. I wanted to welcome everyone to this session on urban biodiversity, a strong business case for a sustainable Malaysia. Often when we think of cities, we think of steel, concrete, glass, but this conference itself, I suppose, challenges us to look at it differently, to look at urbanization not as something that is opposing to nature, or that nature itself should not be seen as a casualty of development, but a co-architect of it. And because urban biodiversity and urbanization or development has been seen as opposing forces, a conference like this challenges us to see whether there is a world in which we can imagine something more hopeful, something more different. And in that respect, we have with us the most suitable figure to close this conference. I want to ask everyone to join me in welcoming Yang Amat Berhormat Dato Sri Haji Fadillah Haji Yusof, Deputy Prime Minister, also Minister for Energy Transition and Water Transformation. Dato Sri, we are conscious of time, and I know we're all looking forward to your closing speech in a few minutes. I wanted to jump in straight away to maybe invite you, sir, to paint the big picture, the bigger picture. What, in the government's mind, is the value of urban biodiversity itself? Before we talk about the business case for it, before we talk about why businesses should look at it more differently, in the government's eyes, what is the point of urban biodiversity?
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera, salam Malaysia Madani. Thank you, Shahril. First of all, thank you to the organizers who is inviting me. But when Shahril said I'm the most suitable person, I'm not the most suitable person for this topic. Because my areas of responsibility will be energy and water. But what energy and water be related also to biodiversity. So in that perspective, I think the commitment of the government as far as the world is concerned. So come 2050, we want to have net zero. We have also signed our commitment in terms of ESG to make sure that we are taking care of the environment. It has to be sustainable. The social perspective, social well-being of the people, and of course the country, and also of course the governance issues. So with that, I think that will be the main commitment of the government that we need to fulfill, not only for the world, but more importantly is for our nation, for our future generation. So urban biodiversity will be one of the areas that we need to focus on. So I think for a start, let us dwell into it. So why it is vital for Malaysia to move into urban biodiversity. So of course, if you look into that, for me, urban biodiversity is no longer luxury. It is a strategic investment. So if you notice in Malaysia, 70% of our population is in urban areas. Just imagine that living in a concrete jungle, the amount of pressure or stress of the urbanites living in that surrounding. Just imagine if all these areas will be green, how it will benefit the urban urbanize, put it that way. So maybe that will be the opening remarks from me.
Thank you very much, sir. Yeah, just reminding us about just the genuine experiential component of urban biodiversity, because as people who live in cities, we ourselves, I guess, we live and we see the value of green lungs, of restored waterways, and it has a lot to do with how we experience life. I suppose what would be interesting to hear from you, sir, is also any particular sort of local council projects where maybe you've observed this being done in practice. Because I'm fully conscious that this is the Sime Dhabi Urban Biodiversity Conference. So we've got to talk about what the private sector role is. But before we go to the private sector in particular, any projects that come to mind about where it's been successfully implemented, this mindset, this approach?
Putrajaya is one good example. When we develop Putrajaya, we have sustainability. The green lung is already there with the man-made lake. And from that areas, I think if you look into why is vital for Malaysia, for all the developers actually, for all who are involved in development, because the need of providing development for Malaysia, at the same time balancing it with sustainability. So if you look into economic perspective, why we need to migrate into urban biodiversity? I would look into even the city areas. There's a great potential as far as biodiversity is concerned. If you want to do conservation, Kuala Lumpur, we do have Taman Titiwangsa, Tasik Perdana, and so on. It has been there, but you need to have many more. And these areas, if you can convert, that become actually attraction, not only for the people who live in the city, but also it can be converted into business opportunities to attract visitors, to attract not only our tourists, but more importantly, these will be the areas that we can educate our young people. If we can include all that areas so that we can, if we look into the Elmina, the videos that are shown, how the young people can be taught about the importance of us to take care of our environment. Once we have green, definitely there'll be migration of birds, of insects, and so on. There are a lot more biodiversity that will be coming into that system. That become education center for our young people. So these are all the opportunities actually, if you look into all that possibilities. Other than that, I believe a lot more that can be done from the social perspective. If you have more green, definitely that will be areas where people can live a quality life. For example, if you go to Kuching, it's a city which is still very green. So the people will not be, in other words, people will be less stressful. That's why Kuching, whenever you go to Kuching, you have a peace of mind. Unlike when you are in Kuala Lumpur, because the pace, everything, you want to rush into everything. And what more to say, surrounding are also not that green, and the air is not as fresh as Kuching. So that's the difference between living in an environment where it's very green with lots of biodiversity within that community or within that environment. Definitely people can, the public health of the people will be taken care. That will be on the social perspective. And of course, many more if you look into not only economic perspective, the social perspective. At the end of the day, you have to take care of the environment. That will be the future for the future generation. If we don't take good care of our environment, definitely, end of the day, everyone will suffer. If we suffer, economic will also be suffering, because economic, we need people, healthy people, good people, to contribute to the economic perspective of our country.
Very good. Thank you, sir. As this conference title itself hints at, and as both of us, I suppose, in our remarks separately have hinted at, cities that are going to survive or thrive in the future are the ones that will look at urban biodiversity not merely as something that they have to manage, but something that's part of the core feature of social life, and is ultimately going to contribute to a healthier society, as you pointed out, sir, as well as more resilience in the longer term. But I suppose as private sector players, one of the things that they would want to ask or have clarity on is, while they're trying to make the economics work, and we managed to see a bit of the end of the last panel, what is the role of government to try and incentivize, to try and ensure that while the projects have to be viable, there is a role of government to assist in incentivizing this kind of exact behaviors that we need developers and the private sector to adopt?
Under the federal government, we do provide grants under the Malaysian Green Program, which is running way back from 2021 to 2025. Urban Community Forest Project and Tree Planting Campaign. This was done over Malaysian Green Program, over 100 million trees, which we have achieved. We do have also integration of nature-based solution. For our ministry right now, all flood mitigation program, the river, how to sustain our river and so on, it has to be based on a nature-based solution. That's how we look at it. Because it's already part of national urbanization policy in that respect. There'll be also dedicated biodiversity grant, technical training, and also green zoning incentive, a collaborated platform for cities to learn and also innovate and scale successful model. So if you look into all that aspect, that will be part of the government, other than policies, the strategies in terms of funding, and also in terms of collaboration between the government, the private sectors, and also the expert to create awareness and to make sure the policy eventually will be implemented successfully.
Are you optimistic that the private sector will sort of understand and appreciate the value of this in terms of business? Or is there more that you think the government and society needs to work with in terms of trying to convince the private sector to behave in a certain way?
As was said from the earlier panel, the private sector will have to migrate into the new perspective. Sustainability is what we need to champion. Because if you are providing this sustainable development in whatever projects that you're doing, this will be the new areas that the green funding can come in. The green investors would love to take part into the green initiative. And of course for the people, because the awareness in terms of environment right now, once you invest into that, there are more people coming in. Elmina is one good example. Because definitely there'll be people who are interested to invest in that particular area. Then of course you can have a premium price when you have green within the development. Because people want to live in green areas, clean areas, where you have much more attraction. I don't think people, definitely once you invest into that, you can attract more people in terms of your properties, because the values will go up, there'll be premium to it, and so on. So I believe if you start investing, look into sustainability as investment, not only in terms of returns in terms of your dollars and cents, but more importantly is we are investing for the future generation. We're investing for our environment, and there'll be a lot better for the entire Malaysian, I think.
I think that's a really good point, investing for the future and thinking of investments not just purely as a set of business returns, but in terms of investing for future generations. And you mentioned earlier, sir, about education. Maybe we can move on and beyond just urban biodiversity, but in the stuff that you look at in your ministry, are you hopeful that the younger generation is adopting this more wholesome approach to development and to life?
You'll be surprised if you look into the younger generation, they are more committed in terms of all the programs related to greening the earth. When we start planting trees, for example, there are so many, majority are young people who are involved. Cleaning our rivers, for example. These are all programs where young people involved. And I would say most of our universities, even schools, the program that they're conducting right now with all the NGOs and so on, the awareness towards keeping our, not only our river, the environment to be clean and so on, they are very active in it. So that's why if you see the 100 million trees, when we're saying it is now even not come to December, we have already achieved 100 trees planted for 100 million trees. So most are basically not only NGOs, but young people are involved in it. So I believe I'm very optimistic that future Malaysian will be better with all the involvement of the young people.
It's great to hear, sir. I guess also let's move on from just government or private sector, unless we want to speak a bit more about incentives that government can give. Happy for you to elaborate on that. But anything else in terms of a whole of society approach that you think will be useful for us to recognize, right? It's not just about government incentivizing certain private sector behavior. It is also about education of society as a whole, so that when people demand certain things of their government or people demand certain things of the private sector, it comes from a entirely whole of society approach that perhaps you can speak a bit about on.
Yeah, from the government, it has to be whole government approach, whole community approach. When it comes to government, it cuts across all the ministries, coming up with policies, coming up with strategies or initiative that is focusing on sustainability, green economy, getting all the other sectors to be involved, which is the private sectors. In terms of investment, the financing perspective, we need the private sectors to be involved. Number one, to understand what are the policies, what are the direction of the government, why we need to do it, and how we come up with the funding. It has to be coming from the private sectors because they are the industry players who understand and giving feedbacks to the government. What else can the government do in order to help and assist for us to realize our vision and how we can translate our policies into action. And we need the NGOs. And more importantly, we need the community leaders to be in the forefront to realize whatever vision that we have. Because they are the one who will be on the ground monitoring, and also they'll be the one who will be facing whatever surrounding that they are facing right now. Then can give feedback, and also they become the implementer of whatever programs that we want to do.
Sure. Conscious of time, I think just a couple last remarks. Anything else you would add in terms of role of, you hinted just now about role of private capital and how important it is and working with government. Anything you would want to say in terms of how that forum might look like, right? Is there any plans for you personally or anybody else in the cabinet and the government to ensure that there is that dialogue between public sector and private sector?
I think this forum that we're having organized by SIMW today, this should be a national agenda. We should have it every year, get everybody to be involved, get all the stakeholders, not only the industry players, but more importantly is even to get the community leaders, the NGOs who are involved in creating awareness, school teachers, the students, and even the lower primary school should be involved in all these programs so that we have mixed program. Number one, involving the government sectors, then how we can interact with all the other private sectors, the civil societies, and of course the community leaders. If we can have it, then get everybody on board so that we can drive it efficiently and hopefully we can fast-track the achievement of urban biodiversity.
With those remarks, thank you very much, sir. Let me join everyone, please, to give a big round of applause to our Deputy Prime Minister for his poignant remarks. I return the floor to the Master of Ceremony.
Thank you very much for those insights, Yang Amat Berhormat Dato Sri, as well as Mr. Shahril for facilitating the discussion.